Go flat tracker. Go flat tracker, go, go, go. The Kelpie Flat Track Pod, brought to you by our partners, Euroka Fencing, for all your rural fencing needs. Classic wheels, spokes and Otway hydro blasting. Make your old girl look new again. And shreddesign.co for the sickest jersey prints in the biz. And Kelpie, keeping you on track for longer. Now let's get into the episode. All right, so we're off. Here we are again. It's a Friday night. We've got a special guest, Luke Gough, along with Tom Northey and myself. Can you hear, Tom, or what are you pointing at your ears for?
No, I'm scratching my head. I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
All good. So we're off to a ripper of a start. So Luke, you've got a big history with flat track and dirt track in Australia. For people that don't know a lot about you, it's the first time you and I have ever met or spoken. Just give us a little bit of a background, if you don't mind.
So I started racing when I was 5. No, 6. I got my first bike when I was 5. Started racing motocross when I was 6. I did all right at that, but I was still just a young fella. But I remember racing some of the big name motocrossers, or the guys that become a big name motocrosser. But yeah, it went on to later on we transferred over to dirt track, and that was probably much more up my alley, and enjoyed myself doing that. So I had dreams of going to road racing and all sorts of other stuff, but dirt track sort of kept bringing me back, and I couldn't ever leave it.
Yeah, right. So whereabouts are you in Australia? You're born and bred in Australia, I'm guessing?
Yeah. So I was born at Barrel. I lived at the Hilltop for most of my life. I lived just down the road at Buxton now. So, I haven't really strayed too far. It's, we're about, year and a half south of Sydney.
Yeah, right. So New South Wales, for those people listening that aren't too familiar with where all that area is. And I think you're about 10 years younger than me. Yeah, you're about 36.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was reading you. I'm not that clever. I was just reading a bio on AFT. That's still up there of you. So,
he's Googled you, Luke. He's Googled you.
I did a little bit of a Google. Yeah.
Hopefully not too far.
No. So, what direction should we take this, Tom? You sat on the fence a little bit with Kenny, and so I reckon I'm going to throw you in it early. Did you have some questions in that you wanted to ask Luke and sort of let people know about Luke that you may, because you guys are sort of good mates, aren't you? Or is he lying to me, Luke?
I've definitely had some fun times with Tom. I can't believe I'm still alive trying to drive home on the way home from the racetrack with Tom and having him in the passenger seat.
Yeah, we've had a few wild adventures, tripping all the way up to Brisbane, Phillip Island and Melbourne Showground. And yeah, we've done some pretty wild stuff by changing tyres through the fire escape, back entrance to the hotel room to we run a bit of a mark together.
Yeah. We've had a few fun
over the years, which has been great. But questions I probably would like to ask Luke is what's your favourite track or event that you've done over the years? This could be...
Well, I might narrow that down. I might split it up into a couple of different ones, but the all-time
probably
number one is always...
a title or an open meeting, or even just your favourite track.
Bega would always... South Coast Cup's always been my favourite. That's my favourite track, favourite place to ride. Bloody good event, good people. It's it's if it runs, it's normally the one event I do every year. So
that's Sapphire Speedway. That is down there at Bega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's quite a few events there in America that I loved. It's some of loved like Peoria. I loved riding it, but the thought of riding it anymore makes me cringe. I wouldn't want to go back.
Yeah, do you want to go into that a little bit? I've seen the footage, like probably most of our listeners have seen the footage of it. If you're into the AMA flat track, or mainly what Luke or Mick Kirkness has done overseas, but yeah, go through the motions of that one.
Well, it is sort of what ended my career over there in America. But that put aside, it was just it was a great place to ride. It was a lot of fun. It was unreal event, but just the element of danger is very high. That's every time you'd ride there, there'd be quite a few ambulances leaving with riders in a serious way. So the last time I rode there, I was one of them. So
oh no, yeah. I've seen a bit of footage of some carnage over that jump, and I'm guessing that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd come over that was in 2012. I was the first lap. I got pushed high. There was 18 guys on the track fighting for that one line, so I got a bit high, and then it doesn't look like much. I sort of got a little bit crossed up coming up the ramp, and the back end dropped on me as I come down to land, and sort of dropped to the inside, to the left a little bit, and at 120 kilometres an hour, those things don't land that well. So I was going completely the wrong way, so there wasn't much. I got tank slapped around and ended up breaking my pelvis. So
right. So what bike were you on with that one, and what team were you with there?
Well, at the time I was riding a bloody, what was that, a 2010 model, YZF 450. It was actually it was my own bike. I'd purchased the bike, but I was actually riding for Skip Eakin at the time, so he was assisting with my singles program, but with the twins, I rode all of Skip's stuff. So it was like I'd live with Skip and work out of his workshop, and even winter time when I'd come back home, he'd rebuild the 450 for me and stuff, but alongside the bloody two Harleys and Kawasaki that were running. So Skip was a very good mentor, and he was very good to be around. He was a very knowledgeable man. So
yeah, nice. Well, we'll revert back to your days you spent over in the AMA Pro Series, but talk a little bit about your junior career as you're coming up from, like you said, you started riding when you were about 5-6 years old and a bit of motocross and then got into dirt track. Talk about your junior career a bit, any accomplishments or highlights and things like that. Behind most fierce rival that you always found on the track. Talk about something like that.
Yeah, all right. Well, my junior career was like pretty quick. Like I didn't have a lot of big successes, but in saying that, I do have a trophy at Dud's house somewhere where I beat both Matt and Jake Moss at the bloody was that the King of the Mountain at Mount Kembla on the motocross track there. So I did. I think I ran second in New Wales. We were up at Bathurst there one year, and I ran second in New Wales. I can't remember. I was on a 60, so it would have been maybe 10 or 11 most. So, I had speed on motocross, but I was, I don't know, I was just young. It wouldn't have mattered what I was doing. I wasn't at that point that I was really pushing hard yet. I was just out there riding around, and sometimes I did good and I felt good, but then other times I sort of just cruise around and stay safe.
Yeah. Just like me, every race meeting I do.
So, but yeah, then what was it? It was about we had a couple of year break, and it wasn't until I was 14 that when we decided to get back into racing, that me and my dad decided that we'd always sort of seen dirt track and going, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
And so when we decided to get back into racing, as soon as Dad said, "Do you want to go back to the racetrack?" I went, "Yeah," and he, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but I went, "But I don't want to do motocross. I want to go do dirt track." And he went,
Yeah.
I think he was happy as pig in shit. It was he was jumping at the bit to go do dirt track. So we knew there was one at Canberra because we'd seen it there when I was younger doing motocross, and Dad knew there was one out at the Nepean, so we I don't know, a few phone calls and we lined up a practice day out at the Nepean, and I went out there and had a run.
How old were you when you started doing that?
I was 14, so I was riding a 98 model CR80.
All right, yeah, cool, yep.
Yeah, and and right that very day I rode against Lee Hunter, and then I've known him ever since. So I was riding with him on the weekend. And I did a bit of coaching with his son last weekend, and so now it was like right back then. I've sort of met people, and I've ended up, I'm going to end up hanging around for the rest of my life.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing you, man. I'm hearing you.
That's the dirt track family. It started all the way back there, and then I think we did a practice day there that day, and then that was I think it was on a Saturday, and then the Sunday we went down to Canberra and did a club day.
All right.
So yeah, and just rode, loved it. Couldn't get into it enough. So we fairly quickly we got involved in the dirt track and started riding more and more. And I felt good on it. Felt like I was going to be fast one day, and then we decided to start looking at road racing, and then buddy got disappointed with the rules at the time because we thought we were allowed to ride a GP 125, but I was still too young.
Yeah, right.
And then, so instead of buying, we had a bike lined up ready to buy, but instead of buying that, Dad went out and bought me a CR125, and we decided to do another year on dirt track.
Yeah, right. So did you? So you did a lot of travelling with you and your dad. Was a junior racing dirt track and open events and things like that.
Yeah, my mum and dad always. As a junior, didn't do a lot of open events, I ramped up pretty quick. Sort of so that last year of junior, I rode the 125, and so I didn't really win anything big. I don't think I won anything on the junior at all. But I was riding against people like Troy Herfoss and Troy Batchelor and buddy Josh Waters and those sort of guys. And
they're quick as hell too.
Yeah, they were at the time. I'd like to race them now. That was before I was fast, so things changed. But no, it was good. I made friends there with a lot of them, and then me and Herfoss were really good mates. We'd hang out on the weekends. I'd go down to his house and ride on at his farm and stuff, and it was like so. It was good. It was like all that's part of racing, and so making mates and hanging out and riding motorbikes. So
yeah, awesome. That sounds great.
It wasn't until I turned 16 and went senior that I finally was convinced to buy an 18-inch wheel and put a trials tyre on the bike. And before that, I was running with a speedway tyre and wondering why I kept crashing.
Yeah.
And then once we changed over to the trials tyre, I think my first race as a senior was the Aussie title at Bathurst Long Track. And,
All right, yeah.
I finished second there. So it was like I was sort of going along without any anything decent to like, that was pretty good at the time. So that got me sort of pretty pumped, and I started getting quicker and quicker, and and then I was just trying to find the direction I wanted to go. By that point, I sort of started to rule out road racing. I didn't feel that it was an avenue that we could afford to go down, and
Yeah.
so we started, and my style at the time was very sideways, so everybody was telling me I should ride sliders and speedway. So I decided to bloody get one of them and give that a go. So I did speedway for I think maybe 2.5, 3 years, something like that. And in the process, I also had a 252 stroke slider that I'd run on dirt track. So I had fairly good success with, but I finished second in the Aussie title, but yet again at Bathurst long track. But that one was I sort of gave that away. I should have won that one by a mile, but my own nerves got to me, and I was always pretty useful for the start. And that was the perfect example of that. So I did speedway for a while and raced with Chris Holder and all of them guys. I did quite a bit of speedway there for a while. I don't feel that I picked it up until probably the last month before I gave it up. But the last a couple of months or so, I started feeling really good on the bike, and then I went, I don't want to do speedway.
Yeah. So is that where you met Jay and Lee Hearn, or did you know them boys before that?
No. So I met them doing speedway.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know it. As growing up, I knew nothing about speedway, so it was a whole new world to me. And I feel like that definitely helped me. Like that was one of the teething problems, was just we were so foreign to it. We had no idea anything about it. Where you look at most of the riders that are racing speedway, their fathers race speedway, or they've had an upbringing around speedway, and they sort of they have a bit of knowledge about it at least, or have somebody that knows what they're doing. We had no idea, so we were definitely on the back foot on the speedway for the early part of it anyway.
Yeah, well, I've seen you race a slider, and you're pretty handy with pedaling one of those around. So it was interesting to hear that you dabbled in a bit of speedway, and I'm surprised the way you ride a slider that you didn't continue down the speedway route. But I'm pumped that you stayed with the dirt track side of it, because I wouldn't have been able to experience half the things I did with you. But Darcy, you want to throw any questions to Goughy?
Yeah, a couple. Since it's fresh in my mind, with the speedway, do you think anything you learned there tied over to help you improve in your dirt track and flat track racing that you took over to America with you? I'm assuming that America came after the speedway.
Yeah, it came a fair bit later. I did a season trying to do supermotos before I decided to go over to America to do the track. Of course you learn stuff from every discipline and carry it over. But I suppose when I got back onto a motocrosser, it felt quite easy to ride. And compared to riding a speedway bike, they feel like a lounge chair. So the confidence was. I think like anybody that rides a speedway bike and then jumps back on a chookie normally feels pretty confident and normally rides pretty smooth too. Like it's like you realise how smooth you can ride when you've got suspension.
Yeah, that's right.
They are a smoother bike to ride, and in particular at the time, like corner speed, not I feel like on dirt track, there was a lot of people that weren't holding much corner speed. And after getting off a speedway bike and back onto the chooky, it was like, I was wondering why everybody kept slowing down in the corners, you know. I was always, I've always loved going high and chasing clean dirt, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to just go around the outside of everybody and chase a nice bit of cushion around the outside.
Yes, that sounds
you definitely did that to me at Bankstown Paceway for the motorcycle show. I remember you going around the outside with your left hand off the bars, giving me the bird as I was, thought that I was flat out through the corner, and that kind of killed my confidence a little bit. I think I might have pulled into the infield and had a good look at myself, but that was impressive.
So it sounds like throttle control is one of the skills you've picked up from Speedway. Then the other sort of question that I was going to ask too is, do you have any of your old bikes like from your junior days? I know you're sitting in your shed. Are you staring at them? We can't see because you're runging today. So
I don't. The only one I have is my long track bike, which I bought when I was 17. I think it was, maybe 8. Yes, no, it would have been about 17. I bought my long tracker.
Yeah, cool.
That's the only bike I've actually kept. Only because they're not worth that selling, really. Like it's you don't get a lot for them, and it's like, it's, I don't know. It was one bike that I always loved, and when it comes to Speedway, my bike, I didn't feel like it was very sentimental. But the long track bike was, every time I got on that, I felt at home and comfortable and just enjoyed it. So it was always one that I decided to keep.
So correct me if I'm wrong, you've got 5 Australian titles. Were they all senior titles, and was one of them on your long track bike?
So they're all senior titles, but none of those were on the long tracker. They're all on the 450. So I've got 2 Australian dirt track titles, and then I've got 3 Australian long track titles, which one was that 2005, 2006, and 2007.
Wow.
Aussie long track title. I never contended 2008 because I was over in America. So, yeah.
So, has anyone? I think I read somewhere that you might be one of the only Aussie riders that have won that many in a row. Is that right, or has someone matched that since?
I have heard that, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it's been matched since. But yeah, I know at the time. Apparently, I was the first person to win 3 in a row in a premier class. So, yeah, because at the time it was the 450s had sort of just become the premier class. It was prior, like sort of 2003-ish. They were still the 500 two-strokes were still the premier class, but but by 2005, they were the premier class was the 450s. So. So I think I was the first one to win 3 in a row in the premier class.
So did you actually race a 500 two-stroke as a senior as well?
No, I never got a 500 two-stroke. I sort of skipped some. Like I did things a little bit different to some of the other guys because I was chasing Speedway. So like I was good mates with Herfoss. So he was. He got himself onto it, like he was riding one of Tom White's KX 500s, and so he was winning pretty much everything in dirt track, either on the KX 500 or his dad's Hasselberg 650, or even he had a CRF 450, I think a bit later, but then like he was really chasing the dirt track, where then I was a bit sort of in between. I'd ride a bit of dirt track and then a bit of Speedway, bit of dirt track, and sort of jumping between them. And then I didn't really. There was a couple of years there where I was trying to, I guess I was finding my feet and figuring out what direction I was going. I don't know. In some ways, it was slowing down some of the progression, but it was all the right learning curves that I was making along the way. So
Another question too. Did you get paid to race speedway? Like, were you getting paid when you turning up to events?
Yeah. The only time I ever got paid for ride speedway was when we went to do the North Queensland. North Queensland versus New South Wales speedway tour with Peter White. So it was a 3-round series, and we all had to drive up there. And, the road. I think it was it was Air Speedway, and then it was just down the road at Pioneer Speedway.
Yeah,
and then Rockhampton. So it was, 3-round series. And that's the only time I ever got paid to ride a speedway bike.
Yeah, because I find that quite interesting. And I suppose you know what's coming next. Did you ever get paid in Australia to race a dirt track bike?
Oh, no. Never been. I can't say, other than prize money, I've never been paid to ride a bike. Like, the only time was because we were going up there to North Queensland that Peter White sweetened up the deal and said, I'll give you a guaranteed sign-up money, show-up money.
Yeah.
But I've never been paid to rock up and ride, the whole time I was in America, it was racing for prize money. Like, I got some sponsors along the way that'd pitch in and add to the budget. But yeah, there was no salary, or I wasn't going. I'm getting $500 this week. I'm guaranteed $500 every week. It's like that would have been great.
Yeah. Well, do you think that would have changed your mentality or attitude at all? Like, you obviously were committed to the sport anyway, because you went and did it off your own back. Like you're saying, there's a bit of struggle in that to get yourself over there, and even in Australia, just getting to meetings, So
yeah, well, in Australia, it's pretty small. I feel like people spend too much money doing it. But it's like it's all part of the stepping stone, and it's like I don't think it's big enough that you need to be getting paid over here. Hopefully there's people out there that disagree and change that. But I didn't feel that I needed to be paid to ride dirt track over here. But like when I went to America, if stability definitely would have helped. But the first 2 years there, the first year I went over there, I bought a $2,000 van and a $3,000 bike, and I was lucky enough to meet Keith Johnson from Johnson Cams, and he gave me a workshop to work out of, and he's also probably one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met. So he was able to help me out and get a good setup, but then. I spent a few weeks setting the van up, setting the bike up, and then he waved goodbye to me, and I drove 3,500 miles over to the other side of the country by myself without any, I've got nothing. I had maybe 2 or 3 people that I knew in America that I could call if something went wrong, I was 21 years old, and I was also driving around the country over there, and I had nothing. I had no idea what I was going to do other than go ride Daytona. And then after that, I didn't know where I was going to go.
It's great hearing this story, because there's a few guys that haven't been recognised enough for their achievements over there, and even in Australia. I mean, in our community, like Tom keeps mentioning names that I haven't heard a lot of or heard of at all, and people have been on these huge adventures, and I really do appreciate you coming on and telling us, because it's awesome to hear, and I hope it does inspire more people. That a lot of people get in their head that you do need a big budget. I do a lot of stuff with no budget, so I like it to rub off on people, because that's what life's about. You get one shot at it. So, if you want to have a crack, and it sounds like you gave it a red hot one.
Yeah, well, looking back on it, sure, I wish I could have done better. And I know, like, I can see the error of my ways. There was definitely things I could have done better to go faster and to get better results. But, like, given the circumstances, I'd probably have my time again and do exactly the same thing over again. So it wasn't easy. Like, there was plenty of times, which also makes some of the most fun times of that, is when I travelled out to race Sturgis, and I drove out there and basically filled up the fuel tank in the van and went, shit, I've only got $100 left in the pocket. I don't know how I'm going to get home. It cost me $200 to get here, and I've only got $100 left. I'm not sure what I'm going to do from here. And then you go ride that night and then crash and have a shocker of a night, and then you go, geez, that $100 is looking pretty slim. Like, I'm really struggling here. And then the next day, I rocked up at the Sturgis half mile, and there was, by this point, I had quite a few friends and people that were, look after me, but it's still, I pulled up at the track, and I didn't even bother unloading the bike. I just was hanging out, and I thought I'll just hang out and watch. And they said, what are you doing? How come you haven't unloaded? I said, well, I can't afford it. I can't even afford the entry, the sign-on money. And they went, don't be stupid. You've come all this way. You can ride. I went, all right. Look, I don't know how, like, what are we going to do? And they went, no worry. And they paid for my entry fee. And I went, well, I've got another problem. I'm out of fuel in the bike. I've only got about a litre of fuel in the bike. And they went, don't worry. And they walked over and grabbed their fuel can and filled the tank full. And then they went, there you go, you're good to go. And I was like, all right, thanks. Still thinking, in the back of my head, I'm still going, I'm still screwed. I don't know how I'm going to get home. It's all good. I've sorted for the next couple of hours, but I don't know what I'm doing after that. But, I went out. I didn't ride that great, but I finished fourth, which is enough to make $400. And $400 on top of 100, you're doing pretty good at that point,
Well, you definitely are.
The money now. So, that went, cool, I've got enough money to make it to the next track. And then at the end of the day, I walked over to the bloke that paid for my entry fee and handed him the entry fee money back, and he said, don't be stupid. He said, it was good to see you ride, and I won't let you miss out. And it was like, so, he looked after me, and but he didn't, it wasn't about the money. It was like, it was like I was forever grateful for that, and they even offered the fuel back, that nobody was interested in any of it. So
yeah,
we travelled to the next day we travelled. The next day we raced again at Sturgis, and I think I finished second at the short track, and then that's turned the $1,000 into I think I put another. The $500 into buddy. I think I made another 1,000 on top of that, and I'm like, shit, I'm bloody loaded now. Like, I went from $100 to I've got 1,500. I'm laughing. It's like I had a couple of good races for the next couple of days where I might not have done great in results, but it was enough to make some money and keep me going. And then,
well, I don't know about great in results. Top four is pretty good. Like, yeah,
especially in Rapid City.
Well, so and in those results, like it didn't feel like I was doing anything special, but it was like, I was racing against the likes of Chris Carr. He won. Yeah. There was you had Jeffrey Carver, Brad Baker, like Jared Mees, Henry Wild. Like it's like, so there was some really
the who's who of American flat track.
Yeah, Sammy Howlett and all those guys. So like, but yeah, it was like, but I was only making I never got to make enough money to go. Oh, I'm actually on Easy Street now. It was like I was doing it a couple $100 at a time. It was like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
I think
it led to bigger things. The first 2 years went by. The first year I just rode singles. The second year I was eligible to ride a twin, but nobody would give me a ride because they were a bit funny about letting you ride a twin if they've never seen you ride one before. So I decided to build one, and I bought an SV650 motor and built my own frame. And I went back to Keith Johnson's house, and it was 2 months that it took me from start to finish, and I stood in 4 foot of snow, standing over a bloody vice with a ball paint hammer, and I beat it out a fuel tank out of a piece of aluminium. So I machined up my own hubs for the wheels. Like built everything that you possibly could on the thing, and built the motor to be a race motor, and all with Keith's help and guidance, and I learned a bloody shitload then, and then the next year went racing and made some mains on it. Didn't do too bad on it. I think my best finish on that bike was 10th out of Arizona. Got a pretty good write up in the magazine about that one because they called me the dark horse. They did a write up on the different brands in dirt track, and I was the fastest Suzuki of the day. So they did a big write up about that, and they went into detail about me making my own bloody frame and wheels and everything, and yeah, so like it was pretty good. I got quite a follow on from people over there for just the way I went about things. Like it wasn't just my results; it was people were liking the way I was living and doing it. So definitely made a lot of the old fellas happy because I was doing it the way they did it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was all good times. Actually at those times, I was probably one of my biggest income was just talking to people in the pits, and they come in and see you in intermission, and they hang out with you for a couple of hours, and then they go, "Geez, I like your story," and then they were so generous they might give you $50 or $100 or whatever they had in their pocket. They go, "Hey man, have this," and that was. I added up at the end of the year. That was actually where I was making most of my money. Was just from generosity of spectators and fans. So
that's so good to hear.
Yeah, it was unreal like that. The people were so good to me when I was over there. They really looked after me. I could live on next to nothing because it didn't matter what I didn't need anything. Somebody would look after me and help me out, and it's like, even something, it might not have even been money. They, like, at times where I had no money, they go, "Well, you can come do some work for me," and I'd go. I made bloody turf for Chip Avery. His young bloke went on to be a pretty good racer. He was actually one of the rising stars there for a while, Tristan Avery, but he ended up got hurt. He's stopped now, but yeah, like the Avery's helped me out. But I used to practice at their track, and they'd look after me a lot. And then and at the time I got living with Mike Hacker. So Hacker was one of the best coaches you could have, and a very good mentor and a very good role model to be hanging around. So Mike would give me the shirt off his back, and he did. He literally did give me the shirt off his back. I've got one of them here. but yeah, like so, I got to live with him and his wife, and you know, like me and Mike would be working on bikes during the week to make a bit of cash, and then I'd go racing on the weekend, and then if I was going to go on a road trip, Mike would normally set me up with, it's like, you know, the right people. He'd go see them, go hang out with them, or he'd even line me up you know, drive to their house, throw your bike in their truck, and travel with them. And so like he really looked after me. He was almost like a big brother to me when I was over there. So
no, that's awesome. So how did you get involved with Skip Eakin and Eakin Racing?
So first of all, he had Don Taylor riding for him, the Canadian. Don hurt himself and was out on injury, and then so Skip was just looking for a filling rider, and quite a few of the guys that worked for AMA, which was Dale. I can't even remember his last name now. There was Dale, and there was Kevin Snyder, and there was all of those guys who they were always looking out for me, trying to help me out any way they could, and so when Skip said, I don't even know who's available, and Dale said, call Gough. It's a good opportunity for him, so I got the chance to ride for Skip, and it was basically only offered to me as a one ride deal. I rode Lima,
and that was a twin, was it?
Yeah, on the twin, I was a Harley XR 750.
Oh, right, yep.
And I'd never ridden one, so it was bit of getting used to in that one night. But I can't say I had any extraordinary bloody result on it. I think I finished 13th, but I made the main. I rode pretty good without. At the same time, in the back of my mind, I also didn't want to go out and do, like, I would have loved to have tried to win the bloody thing, but I was even concerned that if I go out there and ride stupid, he's just going to go, nah, you're never getting on my bike ever again. So
yeah, exactly.
I rode as fast as I possibly could, but tried to stay smooth, I didn't want to put him off, and I tried to do everything I could to impress him. Then he said, well, there's a couple of races coming up. If you want to come along for a couple of them. So then it turned into a 3 ride sort of deal, and the idea was that next year Don was probably still going to ride for him, and then but as time went on. Skip was, I think at the time he was about 68 years old. So he was fairly worse for wear for health.
No. I know what you mean. So all up, how many years with you? Were you racing what was the AMA Grand National Championship then? It wasn't called AFT then. I think that's what it was. I think it was GNC 1 and GNC 2. They called it eventually, or yeah.
No, that was when I first went there. It was GNC 1 and GNC 2, which was singles and twins. They were separated, but then by that point it had gone back to just combined. So it was just a Grand National Championship. So it was just AMA GNC, I suppose.
Right.
But I ended up running there for 4.5 years. It was just shy of 5 years I was over there.
All right.
And the first 2 rode for just on my own, and then the next 2.5 years I rode for Skip. So
Yeah, nice.
Look, part of the thing with Skip was that there wasn't many people that were in my position where I could live with him, which was a good opportunity for me, as I had nowhere to live anyway. So to give me a place, they give me a place to live, and a roof over my head, and myself and Skip could work on the bike, willy nilly for 40 hours a week or whatever it took. Like some nights we'd be out there until late at night working on bikes and
because you're a fitter and turner by trade, aren't you?
Boilermaker.
Boilermaker, yeah. Well, see, you're handy with a welder and handy on a lathe too. So that would have helped out a lot with obviously building frames and.
Yeah, so it was good. So I was able to help Skip in the ways that I like, and so that was a big selling point, I think, to him. It was like I was a good rider for him because I could help him more than what most other riders could.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so otherwise, it was either that or we were probably looking at not getting to keep going to racetracks, So it kept him involved with it, and it got me a ride. So
did Skip have a? Sorry, there's a bit of delay. I think we might overlap every now and then, so I apologise about that. But did Skip have a backyard track that you practiced on as well? That seems pretty common over there.
He didn't actually, but by that point, I probably wasn't practicing as much as I should. Then I was, it was. I don't know. I'm sure I could have found time to do it. Looking back on it, but at the time I felt like we didn't get time to go practice all that much. We go do the odd testing at a local track, or we'd go and ride somewhere. But it was basically you'd just be going race to race. But you'd be you'd normally do 2 or 3 race meetings a week. There wasn't exactly a lot of time for practice, and you're just racing. It's like you don't need practice; you just racing constantly. So
and was the control tyre the DT3 then?
Or the Dunlop CD8 was the control tyre.
Yeah, right.
So we're allowed to run a CD5 on the front, and we had to run a CD8 on the rear. So it was a hard rear, and they were crap to say the least. The 5s were good, but the 8s were crap.
Yeah. I've used a couple hard American tyres, and the hard ones don't suit me either. The softer compound ones seem to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, Maxxis are pretty good. The Dunlops were always good on the front, but then if you went to somewhere like an Outlaw, it was normally, you were normally running a Maxxis on the rear and you'd run the Dunlop on the front because you had a Dunlop on the front. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you ever see? Sorry, Luke. Did you ever see anyone running a trials tyre over there in any of those outlaw events?
No, they would have laughed at you. So, what I was about to say, which is probably pretty funny, because one year we rocked up to, when I was living with Mike Hacker, I used to race South Carolina at Nieces. I used to race there, sort of there, like it was like their club days kind of thing. I would go down there and ride there, probably twice a month or whatever, and so I got pretty good at that track. And then after Daytona, you'd race Daytona. You'd normally race sort of 6 or 7 days in a row down in around Florida, and then you would leave Florida, and on the way back you would race. Most people would stop. So all the big names were there, and they'd stop at Nieces and do a short track. And so this would have been 2009. We went there and against all, like, you had Chris Carr, Kenny Coolbeth, Jake Johnson, Buddy, Danny Halbert. All of the big names of time were there. and I went out there, and I'd already used up every tyre I had for the weekend, and the only tyre that I had good was a Maxxis front. So I decided to put it on the rear, and I raced with the front tyre on the rear, and I absolutely smoked everybody. And I led the main event the entire time. I led every lap of the main, and I cleared out. I had a half a lap lead on Chris Carr, and I was basically just cutting down the laps, waiting to see the checkered flag, and one of the young kids that race there every weekend, I was coming around to lap him, and I got a bit, got a bit excited trying to didn't want to get held up by him, and I went in and pulled. I should have been a bit more patient. I went in where I shouldn't have, and then next thing you know, he hit me, and I've gone down and lost the bloody race. But anyway, it was another learning curve. But
and what type of track was that?
It was just a little short track. It was sort of slightly sandy, clay mix. Didn't blue groove much. Or actually, it did towards the end of the night. It started to blue groove, but it was normally to be like normally at a smaller meeting. It'd normally only sort of get a bit of fuzz on, and it was a really nice track, but it had a fair bit of drive to it. But yeah, I remember it was like leaving there bloody kicking myself. But the funny part was I rocked up next year and everybody was running a front tyre on the rear.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. It was like, and they all said, "Why did you do that?" And it's like, because I had nothing else. There was no reason behind it. It was because it was the only thing I had. It's like, yeah. I think the next year I was the only person running a rear tyre on the rear.
and hold on, how did you go?
Next year, I don't know. I'm not good because I can't remember
it. Yeah, so you should have stuck with the front on the rear.
Yeah, maybe.
So when you come from Australian dirt track running the traditional 2118 to the American flat track tyres over there, how did you find the transition, or did you bride a set of 19 American tyres over here first?
No, I never rode on them. I'd never done oil or any of that sort of riding, so I was only used to riding on the trials tyre and a knobby.
Yep.
And I just for where we lived, there wasn't much of the hard pack oil around, and we weren't prepared to spend all that money just to get another set of wheels to use them once a year. So I'd never done any of that sort of type of riding. When I got the chance to go over there to America, I remember it was Keith Johnson picked me up from the airport, and then he said to me on the way home from the airport, "Do you want to go have a ride this afternoon?" And I went, "Sure, why not?" And he went, "Yeah, all right, we'll go around to Brad Baker's house and have a ride." And so that was the first time I ever rode on 19s was over there on the same day I landed off the aeroplane. So
yeah, right, okay. And how did you find the transition between the two styles?
Well, I was 19 years old. I didn't even give it a bloody batter of an eyelid. I just got out there and rode on the damn things and didn't give it much thought. I just rode and I went. I rode good at their house because it was like a river bottom dirt. It was loamy and deep and nice and so I rode good there. I felt comfortable, and then we went to Castle Rock, which is I didn't even give that much of a batter of an eyelid. It was black and blue groove, and I just rode. And, I actually did surprisingly well there. I just missed out. That was the very first national I ever did, and I only just barely missed out on making the main. I didn't realise until later actually how well I did, because when I went back there full time, it took me 3/4 of a season to be able to even match them results. So,
Right.
yeah, like it was, yeah, but it was, I think I did, it helped being young and dumb and just, I didn't think about it, I just rode. So, if I had given it any more thought, I probably would have made a lot more mistakes.
Yeah.
Do you think the motard stuff helped with the blue groove?
Well, probably, like, of course, being on a bike helps, but I hadn't, at that point, I hadn't worked out, like, I really hadn't worked out how to ride a blue groove yet. I was just trying to ride my bike as fast as I could, but I really had no idea what I was doing on the bike at that point other than trying to do what I could, to go quick. As time went on, I started learning the ins and outs, and even then, it's probably not until I've come back to Australia that I've really been able to go, all right, these are the differences between these wheels, and this is what I've got to do when I know what the differences are, and I know how I should change my riding style when I change wheels. But at the time, you just rode. It was like, and it's like I spent so much time over there that by the time I come back to Australia, I'd forgotten how to ride with trials tyres. So,
All right, okay.
Everything was a learning curve, and it's like it's easy to see. Hindsight's 2020. It's like it's easy to see where you went wrong now.
And so the first year when you come back, when you're here in Australia and you race the Troy Bales Classic, how come you didn't get an invite into the All-Stars one? I'd seen that you had to race the Open class to try and get the last two picks, I think it was, to get into that main event there. What was that? How did that all turn out?
Well, I don't know. They didn't. I was probably unheard of for them guys. I'm not real. I don't do much on Facebook. I don't get involved in a lot of things. I don't really promote myself and do stuff like that. So,
yeah,
I don't think any of them guys even had realised. I don't think Bayless knew of what I'd been and done. It was until later, and then, but at that point he had every mongrel on his dog trying to get a ride in there. So
yeah,
enough people. So everybody wanted to get involved.
So looking back, do you think would based on some of those comments there, would you suggest if let's say you're a mentor and a younger rider, would you suggest to them to heavily back themselves and promote themselves more so that they are more at the forefront and don't miss out on opportunities?
Oh, look, as a professional sort of things, yeah. But yet again, I wouldn't change the way I am. That's, if you want to be like that's great. But I suppose I just don't, I don't know, following the normal. I'd rather just go out and ride my bike and, I've had heaps of people to help me, but I've never had, some factory ride where I just rock up and ride. Even when I was riding for Skip, I was spending every hour of the day in the shed working on the bike and preparing for the race in that way, it's good to promote yourself, and you'll make more money as a business wise. And if you're gonna try to be professional, you've got to treat it as a business. Somebody like Corey Texter is unreal at running his racing as a business, and Jared Mees is too. Jared Mees was, everything he did was about running his business. It's not just winning races is obviously his goal, but it's at the end, he'd go out and he'd win the race, and then he'd be running his business again. And that is if you're going to be professional, I think that's what you got to do. But I'm pretty happy driving around in my bloody shitbox van and working on my own bikes, you know.
And smoking everyone in the process.
Well, I would have liked to have, beaten some more people. But
Yeah.
It sort of makes
that's
those wins a little bit better, though, doesn't it? When you sort of, I suppose, classed as an underdog, maybe, or the dark horse in your instance. It's makes those wins sweeter when you sort of know that you might not have quite the same backing as the guy you bet.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I was definitely not. It's not an excuse as far as bikes and stuff like that. Like I had bikes that everything I rode could win races. I was never on a bike that I felt that couldn't win a race. You know, like it's. There was definitely times where when I first started riding for Skip that. Because of the rule changes and things like that, it's like the Harleys weren't quite as quick as what they could have been. But like then, we made changes and we built a Kawasaki so that we could try to have something that was faster for the bigger tracks and stuff like that. But that on its own is a teething problem, and a lot of developing and learning to be done along the way. So. But whether it had been the bikes I rode for Skip or whether it was my own bikes, everything I had was always like I feel like I could win races on it. There was definitely not held back in that way. I suppose the advantage of getting to ride for somebody else and if you just rock up and bring your gear bag and start riding, I think mentally it's a lot easier because you just don't have that extra stress, and it's like you've just got to go out there and do your job, But I don't know. I'm happy doing it the way I did.
And I'm guessing, with the names you've been mentioning and that you still follow the flat track in America a bit. What do you think of Max and Tom and how they're going over there?
I think it's great. Like I really like Max. He's got a really good kid. He's got a good attitude. I only met him around 2017 or something like that when I was back home doing a bit of racing, and he just come through to senior, and I think he just got back from the States from the amateur nationals, and he's a good kid, and he had a lot of respect for me, and I had a lot of time to, I was happy to tell him anything he wanted to know. He's got a good style. He's smooth. He's good. I think he runs he's very professional about the way he does things. So as far as being a professional athlete, he's already far succumbed to what I've done. He's really good, and it's like, and then he's got a long way to go. I think he's not done yet. He's got bloody years ahead of him of bloody racing. And then you get to Tommy Drain, and it's like, Tommy Drain's dad, Matt Drain, was one of the guys that, I did get to race against him. I think about the time he was sort of starting to leave dirt track was sort of when I was just senior. But he was one of the guys that I was watching and going, holy crap, he looks good. I like the way he rides. I want to, that's what I want to do. And for Tommy Drain, he's had his dad as a really good mentor. His dad's put him in the right places. He's got over there early. The biggest thing for me was I needed to be over in America earlier. If I had been there when I was 15 years old, I would have been able to go a lot further earlier, and I would have had a lot more learning earlier, and then I would have been able to capitalise on all that learning, but it was sort of, I felt like I was playing catch up the whole time I was there. So like, definitely for both of them guys being over there at a young age, and they've got a good team around them. They're going to feel safe. They're going to be able to go out there and ride and feel like they've got people that are going to look after them. You know, like I remember rocking up to tracks and going it was like I've drove for bloody 30 hours from one side of the country to the other, and if I crash, who's going to, if I get carted away in an ambulance, who's going to pack up my van? I don't know any of these people, and you can't tell me that doesn't mess up your mentality trying to race. Like you just, I was scared. Like I didn't know it, but I was definitely scared. Going, oh God, if I hurt myself, I'm screwed. But anyway, my race is up. I'm going out and racing. It was like, so it was. Yeah.
And were there any female racers in America or Australia at your time when you're sort of at your peak, I suppose you would say?
Yeah, there was Nicole Chesner, which is Nicole Means now. Yeah, like she was. And I remember I rocked up over there and went, "Holy shit, I'm getting beaten by a girl." It's like, what's the world coming to? And like I race against Nicole quite a bit, and I think, and then as I was there for a bit longer, then Shane Texter started coming through on the singles, and was like, so like there was definitely some fast females over there. It was you definitely couldn't let your guard down, otherwise you'd be really getting past by a girl. It was like
and do you think, because in the amateurs over there they have a women's class, don't they? Well, they do now. I don't know if they did in 2010, 11, 12. What do you think about that? Do you think it should be like that? And in Australia back home, do you think we should have a women's class, or it should just be we're all riders and all treated as equal?
Well, I would say yes, there should be a girls' class. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for them. It's good to get everybody into it. Any arse you can put on a seat is a good thing. You know, any extra rider you can get out there is a good thing. When it comes to an Aussie title, the Aussie title, everybody. It's like I'm sure like some of the Aussie girls that race over here. It's like they still go out and race in the 450 class. Like they race against everybody. They're not just for their goal is to win the women's class as well. But it's like, at the end of the day, just the series, like in America, you race the series with everybody else.
Yeah,
it's like that's equality, isn't it? It's like we're all out there just racing each other. It doesn't matter who you are, you buddy. Just go around the track as fast as you can. But yeah, it's good to get in. Like, it depends on what level you're at. I think definitely club meetings. Although that's entry level racing is where you should have. It doesn't matter what bike you're riding. You should be able to rock up at a club day and ride, and things like different classes and stuff are great because it gives some of those people a chance to win a race where they might not win a race normally. But it's like, but hey, if you start winning races, well, then you're going to be in there against everybody else, aren't you? Like,
yeah. And do you think we're actually, Tom and I have been talking about this quite a bit, and it probably really is a whole other podcast. But do you think the way that racing is formatted over here and structured is the right way, or do you think we could improve on that a little bit?
It's always a touchy subject, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm throwing you into the lion's den.
But look, there's heaps that I get really frustrated with lots of stuff here in Australia. To say it's bad is probably wrong. I still love it. It's like but it's like, but you know, I've been on both sides of the fence where I'm like, I feel that the you know, running trial tires and nobbies is sort of where we've come from. So it's hard to get rid of that, but at the same time, if you really want to focus on dirt track, I think running 19s and run a proper series, and I know there's people out there that are trying to get things like that started, but it's but that is, in my opinion, it'll make our racing more professional. We will we need to run a series. It needs to be on all types of surfaces. It needs to be on, like, the 19-inch wheels make sense because you might jump on and ride them and go, oh, they don't feel as good as on a trial store on a real Bathurst long track. But the 19s still work. And if everybody's riding them, it makes no bloody difference at all. So I think riding on 19s is good because it gives people more experience for if they want to go over to America. I feel like riding nobbies in a trials tire is probably more speedway style, and then so like that's kind of like some of our heritage kind of thing, I suppose. But it's
So I'm sort of glad you went there, but I was probably referring a little bit more to the class structure, like 450s, opens, 250s. So
there's too many, way too many.
Yeah, should we have pro 450, pro 250, amateur 450, amateur 250, and pro women's, amateur women? Should it be more like that and longer laps, or?
I think more laps would be good, but I think we should. I don't think there should be that many classes. It should be your 250s is basically your like your step up class. So you can come out of juniors. You can keep running your 250, and it's like and that's like your I'll probably make like the old, when I went to America, they had Pro-Am. And so you could call it's like you can call that like your Pro-Am sort of thing, or maybe your amateur, or whatever you want to call it. But then it's like, in my opinion, you could have the step up class, and then you have your 450 class, and then that is it. When it comes to Aussie titles, you just have the one class, and all your riders go in there, and it's like, and at the end of the day, you've got, like, at the end of the series, I think it should be a series across all tracks. It shouldn't be dirt track. It shouldn't be long track. It shouldn't be segregated into different areas. It's all dirt track. It's all on dirt. The riding, it's like, doesn't matter what the configuration of the track is. I don't care if there's a jump in there or if it's a bloody or a horse track. It's dirt track, and you just ride the bloody thing. And the only class, if you want to be the Australian champion, you ride a 450, and that is it.
I told you that question was going to fire him up.
And all the other classes, you get club days are for all the other classes. It's like that's where you have all the other classes. You don't need Aussie titles to have 20 classes. It drives me nuts. It bores me as a rider. I can stand at a meeting, and it almost bores me because I lose track of where we're at. It drags on and on and on, and then and this is me who's been around racing for my entire life. I can walk up and I look at it, and I can't tell the difference other than a number to go, is that a 250 four-stroke? Is it a junior 250 four-stroke? Or is it a senior 250 four-stroke? Or even, it's hard to even tell the difference between a 450 and a 250. So I really have no idea out of all of the classes that are out there, and by the time you throw in over 35s and women's and all, and like just endless classes, you go, I don't know where we're up to. I have no idea what I'm watching. I like watching it, but I don't know what it is. It's like that's club day racing should be. You can have all classes in the world. That's what club days are about.
Yeah, I like the Aussie title idea of being a series too, and so you go to each round and you score points, and where you end up is where you're positioned in Australia. So if I'm not fast enough and I end up being number 50 out of 70 riders that have entered or whatever, and there's 10 heats or whatever, that's fine. Then I'm number 50. That's where I am in Australia,
Well, they tend to, I feel like it's mostly club run, which is not like in the States. It's more promoters. There's promoters running the event, and they're there to make money. And how they make money is by getting people in the gate. It's not about the riders on they get the riders to come by offering prize money, and then they get, and because the riders turn up, the fans turn up, and then they don't make their money off anything other than bloody beer and people on the seats. Like they make most of their money from beer and food. And I do feel like racing here in Australia you could still achieve that. You could, but like you go to an Aussie title or any big event, the only way the clubs make money is by getting riders on the track, and that's where I think it goes wrong. It's like it's not about the number of riders on the track; it's about the quality of the field and the show. And it's like, and if the show, a quick show is a good show, keeps people interested, and anybody that doesn't know the sport is going to come along and be able to keep up with who's on the track and what class they're in. Where like anybody that doesn't know, it doesn't frequently follow the sport, stands there and looks at it and goes, well, what bikes are these? Well, who are they? And it's hard to get excited over it when you don't know what you're watching.
Well, having said that, what's your opinions on the AFTN, the way they're running that over this year? It's over 6 rounds, 3 different tracks, 2 dirt tracks and an oil track. And what's your opinion on that format of how they do that racing?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've been away from it for a while and haven't really paid any attention. I've seen that they've been doing it, but I haven't really looked at it. But I think it's a step in the right direction. There's somebody out there trying to do something good. Maybe if I get motivated and put my ass back on the seat, I might. If I'm going to do something, I think that'd probably be an event that I'd rather do.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I want to see your ass in that red Teletubby suit, back on a bike, back on the track.
Yeah. Well, I put my ass in my red Teletubby suit last weekend, and then I put my ass right on the ground too. And a nice bruise on. But
I'll tell you what, that race suit's iconic around the country for everyone that knows dirt trackers. They know Luke Gough in that big red suit.
Well, yeah, I had a run on the weekend and I felt pretty good, and I rode Appen track for the first time, and to be perfectly honest, that was right up there for one of the most fun tracks on the road. I loved it.
It's a good track.
I rode their previous track. Yeah, well, I rode their previous track where it was the Speedway track. And it was a beautiful track, but it just didn't have. It was missing something. There was something about it. It didn't excite me. It didn't get me really pumping. And then, but yeah, on the weekend, I couldn't bloody speak any highly of it. It was unreal. Just it has character. You're coming up a hill into, I don't know, whatever, turn 1 or turn 3, one of them.
3 and 4, I think.
Yeah, 3 and 4, yeah.
and the corner's not perfect. It's almost two corners with a slight. It's like a slight straight in between them. So you got to link them together, and you're coming over the crest of hill and back down, and that I loved it. It was great fun. Like so something like that would be good. And I haven't got to ride their TT yet, but I think that'd be like, it looks good. I think I'd like to give that a go. So definitely something.
Yeah, I think the next social day they're running out there, they're running the TT. So definitely get in touch with Greg and put your name down and go out there for a skid.
Yeah, I'm right. I already am. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to ride my wife's 250 because my 450's a bit tired. I need to give it a rebuild. So it's going to
hold on, rewind there. Your wife's a racer too?
No, not quite.
Hey, I've seen her get a trophy when you didn't. So yeah, she's a racer.
She did. She did do a race. I'll give her that. She definitely did a race. And she finished third on her one and only ever appearance as a racer. So she did good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Her bike. I call it her bike. It started out as my practice bike, and then I decided to lower the exact same as what I do for my race bike, because that way she can touch the ground and ride it.
Yeah.
So then it turned into her bike. So, but it hasn't been out of the shed for a bloody long time now. So now that I'm starting to, my young bloke's starting to ride, I better get a bike that I can at least go every time he has a ride. I probably should have a ride too,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's how it starts up again, I reckon. Kids are a great motivator, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I'm at the point now where it's like I've had a bit of a break from the sport. What have I done? I think it was 6 rides in 6 years is all I've done. I've literally had one ride every year, and that's it. I don't think people believe me when I say it's literally been a year since I threw a leg over a bike, and then I go out there and I still feel at home. I just jump on and start riding, and it's like I still like it, but I don't know. Sometimes I suppose I've just gone through a phase in life where I didn't feel quite as motivated to ride. I had nothing to prove, nothing to gain, and I had a lot to lose.
So you rode against Kirkness a bit as well?
Yeah, me and Mick we went over to the States at the same time. I think he ended up staying for a season longer than me, I think, because he didn't break his pelvis, so that helped.
Yeah, that's a good start for him, isn't it?
But he, me and Mick went over there roughly the same time, did everything pretty much the same. We'd see each other every weekend sort of thing, but we never really hung out a lot, or we'd always chat and talk, but we didn't really have a lot to do with each other while we were over there in America. But I don't know, we definitely had our rivalries along the way, but especially as we've sort of come back to Australia, I think me and Mick get along better now than we ever did, and I've definitely got a lot of respect for Mick, and I'd like to hope that he has a bit of respect for me too. We've been right there. He was in a very similar boat to me, like he had plenty of times where he had nothing but the shirt on his back, and it was like, and he was definitely had his hard times over there. So it was, me and him have a very similar experience. We went about things differently, and we hung out with different people, and we did a lot of different stuff. But at the end of the day, I think Mick's best finish at the National was 4th, and my best finish at the National was 4th. And so,
yeah, right.
I think point standings at the end of the season, I think me and Mick were like 10th and 11th, and it was like, and I'd be 2 points in front of him, and then the next year he'd be a couple of points in front of me, and it was on paper you can, like, I don't know that you can be able to spot much difference between me and Mick.
Well, I think that's the perfect recipe for a comeback, because you know who's winning the AFTN rounds at the moment, don't you?
Yeah, I know. That's fine.
So I think
Goughy's coming to Tari.
I think it's time to come back, mate. You can't let him have it over here.
Well, if I do come back, he better look out.
That's what I like to hear. And I think that sort of thing, that sort of, like, people listening to this, and I think that's what brings people to the racetrack, to watch those sort of battles, those sort of characters getting involved. Whether it's not nasty, it's all amicable, but that's what makes good racing. I sort of feel like the lack of a series to follow in Australia is part of the reason why our fan base is small. Like if you have a good series for people to follow and actually get into, that's part of the recipe that's missing.
Yeah, like I don't even get to. I'm a tight ass. So I don't pay for the bloody, for the TV coverage of American Flat Track. But every week I sit there and I just look at the results and see where everybody finished, and that on its own is more interesting to me than who won the Aussie long track title or who won the dirt track title. It's each week you go and like he's getting better, or like I watched Tommy Drain's results this year. Like he went over there hot. He'd had some. He'd had a couple of rides over there, and it was like, he looked like he was going to go over there and just smoke him. Like I think a few people expected that, but there was some learning that he hadn't got to do yet. Like he got to ride some of the tracks that were probably more favourable to him. He was picking and choosing. Like they got to choose what meetings they went to, and naturally you're going to choose the ones that you're more familiar with. And but then like the likes of Daytona he's rocked up to Daytona and he's probably full of confidence at Daytona, and then he's got there and probably realised I'd love to talk to him, but you get to Daytona and you go, this is shit.
Yeah, this is sand.
Thing in my life. And it's like, where's the traction? Like I remember when they first built that track, and then we did a testing day, and it was pretty cold and miserable, and we're just out there cutting laps, and I kid you not, the mechanic could have run beside you down the straight and wiped your goggles clean for you and given you a drink. And probably still beating you to the corner. It was so slow. It was like riding on ice. It was horrible, and it was like Daytona. When you feel good at Daytona, you feel good. Then when you feel bad, you feel bad. Yeah, it's hard. And I'm sure Tommy's gone through like early in the season. I think he was probably going, "Holy shit, this is tough. This is like there's things that I haven't experienced yet, and and it probably obviously pretty strong-headed because of his comeback towards the end of the season has been unreal. Like he's just more and more consistent, on the tracks that are tough, that I think that he'd be less experienced at. Things like Castle Rock is a really tough little track, and it's like he's even on his tracks that he probably found harder, he's just gone better and better and better, and it's like he's young enough that he's learning all those things really quickly, and it's like, and next year I think they better look out next year. It's like he actually will probably have a real chance of winning the championship.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, and he's definitely on an excellent team. A lot of the guys that are either working for the team or like JD Beach. I spent quite a bit of time with JD Beach, like there's heaps of those guys that I knew and they're all really good people to be around, and I think it's an excellent team to ride for because they're running both singles and twins, not just the singles, and so he's, it may present him with an opportunity to start to ride a twin, or at least he might have got some testing on a twin, or so
it gives him a stepping stone to move up once he's done in the singles class.
Yeah, so he I really think that he's somebody to look out for. Like his dad's definitely done the right thing and put him in the right places, and then he's doing everything right. Like he definitely made some learning curves along the way, but he's just getting better and better, and he's smooth, fast, consistent. I don't know what else you want. So,
like you were saying, coming from 7th sort of in the start of the season, which was still awesome, to 2nd overall. What do you think? He obviously learned a lot of things. What do you think some of the little tricks that he might have learned could have been, like covering the back brake more often? What other sort of things to adapt as a rider do you think he might have picked up that improved?
The way you ride can, I don't know, like there's when you look at all the riders over there, you could have so many people doing different things. You'd have Kenny Coolworth would have his brake disc glowing red, and Jake Johnson would have his glowing red, and then Sammy Halbert would be riding around without running brakes at all. So like, and they'd all be running the same lap times. So like it's how he's doing it, I'm not sure. I don't know what it like, but it's just the learning to use the right tools at the right time. Like sometimes you might want to ride like Sammy, and sometimes you might want to ride like Kenny Coolworth or whatever. Like you've got to learn to use every trick you've learned along the way and use them at the right time. And I think towards the end of the season, you definitely putting all them together. It's like, and learning he's like, he was always red hot on the tracks that he was, a bit more familiar with. But then like he's definitely made a lot of improvements on the tracks that are, I don't think we get to experience a lot over here. Like riding with trial tyres and knobbies, like the trial tyre is the most forgiving tyre I've ever ridden on. And you can get away with murder. You can ride however you want. You can ride as aggressive as you want, or you can ride as smooth as you want. It doesn't make any difference. You can chop your throttle, stab your throttle, get on the brakes, give it a fistful, and get out of the corner. You can do what you can get away with things that you cannot get away with when you're riding over there. Like probably 90% of the tracks that I rode on over there were polished concrete with talcum powder spread on them, but then with a big hole thrown in it. Like they'd be rough as buggery and they'd be slippery as buggery, and it didn't feel like anything would work. Like they're the ones that you've got to get used to riding and be able to get good at. And that was definitely a big struggle for me. But
probably fair to say that Tommy's a good listener, and he's had some good advice being given to him to make that bigger difference in the season. Like he obviously has had some good advice. He's taken it on board, tried it on these different tracks, and sometimes it worked. Like I can't remember which round it was, but he was in 2nd, 3rd, and slipped back to like 5th or 6th. So obviously whatever he was trying didn't work. And then other times you see him actually slip back a bit, and then he's pulled himself forward again. So he's obviously got a few more tools in that toolbox you're talking about.
That's right.
So he's really
But
listened and taken it on board.
The mile was he's definitely got the riding ability and the skills on the mile, but he's always had the speed on the mile. But there's so many learning curves to do with the draft and the wind, and there's no amount of anybody telling you, like they can tell you until they're black and blue in the face of this is what you're going to feel, this is how it's going to react. But until you're out there doing it, you can't you can't gain that experience without doing it. And something like Springfield Mile is bloody hard. It's it's so close to racing, and the way the draft works surprises you. Like I learn a lot drafting against bloody Sammy Halbert, and it was. I felt that he was trying to kill me, and it was like the 1 year I was starting to get really pissed off because it was scaring the living shit out of me every time he come around the outside of me coming into turn one. And I come in after the race, and I went over and seen my mate Mike Hacker and said, "What's going on? I don't know what is this? It's like, why is it that every time I go up the inside of him, he can't." Like he's got he don't, like if I'm behind him, he's not as fast. But then if I draft past him, then all of a sudden he just comes flying around the outside of me on re-entry to the corner, and I couldn't understand where he gained like all this extra speed, and he'd be going 20 kilometres an hour quicker than any other lap around there, and then Mike started explaining to me that he was getting a side draft. So because I was drafting him up the inside, and then I'd have the inside run into the corner, which felt natural and that was what I should be doing. But Sammy would hang on and stay in the draft, and he'd be just to the outside of me. But and you get the draft on the side, and what it does is it sucks him in towards you down into the corner. So then it makes him be able to come into the corner way quicker than he can normally on his own. But the downside of that is that if you're the one that he's doing it to, is it sucks you out to the outside, and it'd suck my front wheel straight into the side of him, and it would put me in a horrible spot where I couldn't do anything. I was just stuck there along for the ride and waiting to go flying over the handlebars. And after Hacker explained it to me, he said maybe try drafting to the outside. And then it wasn't until the following year that we were back there that I was able to put it to use, and I went, oh my God, this is amazing! I can't believe how much better this is. So why didn't I do this sooner? So there was things that I'd felt on them. It's like motorbike that I'd never experienced, like just the draft was really can unsettle the bike and make things uneasy. Like there's times where early in the race when there's 4 riders in front of you and they're sort of all fanned out, and you can be almost completely off the throttle and sitting upright, and you're still just getting sucked along for the ride. But it's very turbulent and choppy, so the thing was a head shake and your head's bobbling around. I was trying to explain to some of the guys on the weekend that you can't see very well in the corners because you, especially when you're behind somebody, because you're copping their air and your head is like one of those bobbleheads that sits in the front of the car, and your head's shaking around. It's like you're getting buffeted around, and you're getting a very blurred vision, and you can't concentrate. It's very hard to stay concentrated and stay online and stay where you do the things you need to do. And these are all things that I was learning every time I went out, and I just you need to be young and get over there and do it early and learn these things as early as possible, and then that way it's not such a shock to the system. It's like,
And a lot of the
I think
athletes are training pretty hard now. Do you think that does make a difference to help deal with that sort of stuff? Like,
absolutely, of course it helps. I was always pretty slack. I didn't ever train. I never did anything like that. And in hindsight, I'm like, it seems pretty dumb. I don't know why I didn't. It seems really dumb. It seems like a pretty simple thing to do, to at least put your mind in the right place. But yeah, like at the same time, I think I had a lot going on. But that was probably the least of my worries. But if you're going to be professional, it's definitely what you got to do. You got to, if you go over there, you got to give it your all, and it's like, you got to train and practice, and
so you're definitely still young enough to go over there and race the twins. So you could give it another stab.
Well, funny you say that. I told them after I rode on the weekend. I told my wife that if we win Lotto, I'm paying the house off, and we're going to rent it out, and we're buying a motor home in the States, and I'm going back.
Luke, I'm coming with you. If that's the case, I'm coming with you.
Me too. You've got a whole entourage.
The only problem is we don't buy Lotto tickets.
You're not my twin brother, are you?
I don't know, Darcy. How much of a tight ass are you?
I'm Dutch.
There you go. You must be related.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If I had a couple of $1 million in the bank, I think I could definitely, with all the lessons I've learned, I reckon I could go over there and different mindset, and you'd be more comfortable if you won Lotto. You got nothing to be concerned about. For the missus is set up, the kids are set up, and then if you don't have to go to do a job, or you don't have to work on the bike each day, I think I'd definitely train harder, and I'd do more to actually. Yeah, so like I'd love to have another chance at it, but at the same time, I've got a job, I've got a house, I've got a mortgage. I've got reality is I've got to keep working.
and after your incident, how did that play on your mind? Like, did that take you quite a bit to come back from, or you just sort of just bounce back? Are you one of those people that sort of didn't worry too much about it?
I did let it affect me too much. That was definitely a downfall. I should have got straight back into it, and then it's like a not thought about it. But I suppose it was just at the time, I was starting to question whether or not I should be going back or not, because I'd come back to Australia and I'd have $10 in my pocket. Like, I wouldn't have any money, and then I'd work for a couple of months, and I wouldn't even get to ride a motorbike the whole time I'd be back in Australia. And I'd work for 2 or 3 months and then fly back to America and hope that couple of grand that I'd earned was going to last me the season. So it was getting to the point where I felt like, maybe I'm wasting my time. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not making money. I'm not going to it felt like I should be back home and get a job and buy a house. Those things were starting to play on my mind. And so then, while I was recovering from my pelvis, I definitely lost a bit of motivation, and then Skip actually ended up passing away in that time that I was back here recovering. So then that was another kick in the dirt. I wasn't exactly thrilled after that, but I was actually still planning on going back. I was going to continue the race program with, as Dick Ford was one of our major sponsors. He owned the 2 Harleys that we rode, And all of the sponsors that either sponsored Skip or myself were all still on board. And Skip's nephew, Dave Brush, was going to, between him and myself, we were going to continue to run the same race team. But yeah, I suppose the longer time went on, it just felt like I was wasting my time, and I ended up I'd saved up all my money, and between what my wife had saved up and what I had saved up, I went, you know what, that's a deposit on the house. So that's what we did. We bought a house. So, but it was, yeah, I do think it was the right thing to do, because while I was thinking like that, it was pointless. It was pointless racing. I was better off coming back and earning money, but yeah, whenever you've got something else on your mind, you can't race properly. So
yeah,
but I was enjoying it. I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, she's a bit of an addiction, racing motorcycles, I think, and it is quite a. I don't think anyone ever wants to stop it, and like from what you're saying, you know, after your injury and you're having a family and everything too, your priorities do change, and it's tricky. Like you've obviously cut back, but you're still throwing a leg over once a year.
Yeah,
and you know, you're still keeping your toes in the water for your comeback against Kirkness and AFTN. So, yeah, the time will be right. I'm pretty sure the time will be right, and you'll go, you know, and that's why I don't know if you know much about me and what I'm trying to achieve over here and help Dave Maddock achieve, who runs the AFTN, and that is to have obviously a baby series compared to America, but start off that way and, you know, something to turn into something the equivalent of like the VFL Footy League and then eventually the AFL Footy League, you know, where we start off small, grow to something medium, and then we grow to something bigger, where we do have...
I think it is good. It's good to see somebody trying to do a series and like, as much as Aussies don't want to change their ways and they don't want to give up the tyres that are really easy to ride on because they're really easy to ride on. It's like, but yeah. I think it's time to bloody just get out there and ride with the bloody things and like, and I don't know, lose some of the. Even myself, I was pretty prone for it as a young fella. It's like I'd only ride stuff that was deep and loamy sort of thing because it was what suited trials tyres. But that was more because I was a tight ass and didn't want to buy the other set of wheels, you know. Like, but it's like, and that's the way it was. Like we didn't have my old man wasn't prepared to bloody give up his house to. You know, to buy me another set of wheels, like and that's hey, like that's the way it bloody well should be. It's like you need to prove yourself to be able to get these things. But yeah, I think running a series on 19s. Don't sook about the track. Don't sook about bloody. These things, these tyres are shit. They don't work at this track. It's not. They're not the problem. It's like just get out there and ride, and it's like it's a race. If everybody's running them, then it doesn't matter. Just ride whatever It's like whatever the race is, you ride the bloody race, and you try to be the best you can. And you know, and it's like, and if you don't win, go home and think about why you didn't win and try to be better next week. And it's like, isn't that what racing is? Like, I don't know what else you do.
No, mate, you couldn't have said that any better. I do agree with you. As much as I do like the 21-18 and the different tracks that we've got and all that stuff, but you are right. For the way the sport to grow and and pretty much the rest of the world that races flat track, they are on 19s and they are on similar tracks as well. And we are the only ones that aren't. So
yeah, it's not pretty much. It's
well,
exactly we're the only ones
exactly
that run the setup. And as we've always said on this pod and in any conversation that I've had with anyone, we're not trying to, as you pointed out earlier too, Luke, that we're not trying to get rid of the heritage of the sport. Those club days with all the classes, you can ride whatever you bloody want, you know.
That's right.
But if we have a 19-inch series over here where people can groom their younger riders to become seniors and then go overseas and compete with the best. And if you look at what's happening, you know, like Jared Brook, the first Australian rider to go and race in the FIM, you know, he's paving the way for other riders as well to go into a world title series. So obviously that's not a money opportunity, but it's definitely a huge thing to race for your country. And it's a great thing for our sport. And I think it's fantastic it's happening. And you've also mentioned during this pod of your dirt track family in America. And I believe all the pods that I've listened to that either talk to dirt trackers or are dirt track or flat track focused, all bring that point up, that there's something about the dirt track family. It's a little bit different. It's not quite up itself as much as, say, like a motocross paddock or the road racing paddock. We're not, you know, if you see someone come over there's riders in New Zealand that are busting to come over, and I won't even hesitate to say, you know, come stay at my joint, use my bike, we'll fill it up for you if you haven't got enough pingers to do it, you know. I wouldn't hesitate at all. But,
that's right. Yeah, what's good about it? One thing I loved about dirt track, the very first time I ever turned up, and because I did motocross as a kid, you'd turn up at the motocross track, and if your bike was a year old, you'd get funny looks. Like it was, you had to have the latest model, otherwise you were nobody, and it was like. But yet the bikes hadn't changed. The bike was the same bike it had been for the past 5 years. And it's like, then I rocked up to the dirt track, and it was like I was racing kids that were like I think my bike was about 4 years old at that point. But and I think I was on the newest bike out on the track, and it was like I'm looking at it going, holy crap! But there's kids running, you know. A late 80s model sort of bike. There was I remember Glenn Scott was riding, it was something like a 89 model CR80, and it was the fastest bike on the track. It was it didn't matter, you know, and nobody cared about what bike you're riding. And it's like, and you turned up to a club day and you'd see somebody on a IT 250 but then you would see, you know, your latest and greatest 450 or whatever. But it's like, but nobody cared, and it was like, and the bloke riding the 450 would still talk to the bloke on the IT 250. Yeah, and that was, you didn't see that in motocross. So like that, it is a good sport like that. I hope that doesn't go away. I'm afraid it may be going away, but maybe that's just because I'm getting older and crankier. And
I agree.
You know,
that he's older and crankier.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's going away. I mean, there is elements of politics that can ruin a sport as always, but I think they've always existed from what I can tell. But yeah, I mean, it's up to us to keep it that way. And if you see someone that needs a help, you offer it, and a helping hand, you offer it. And I think that's what will keep it going and keep that feel there. But I think also too, the sports just sort of seems to attract good people, you know. So
it does, yeah. Well, so last weekend I got to go up to Somersby with Dave Smith and Pete Smith, and they invited me along to do some coaching, and it was mainly to teach people the differences of how to ride on 19s and the differences between the 19s and trial size, you know. There's like, I thoroughly enjoyed my day up there with them, and then with the people that I got to coach, and there were some of the young kids there that were showing good potential. Like some of them have still got a long way to go, but you know, they've got the skills. They're in the right spot. They're learning a lot, and then and then on top of that, there was young Fifey, Jed Fife. He impressed me a lot. He was riding really good. I think it was his first ride on the 250, and and I got to dice it up with him, and it was like, and he's moving. He can ride really good and adapt to the changes really quick, and he was running the 19-inch wheel. I think that like kids like that, they're the ones that are going to have something to take to America, you know, and do good out of it, because they're doing it now, and they're practicing now, and there was some good people up there on the weekend, and it did make me feel good about dirt track, because I do enjoy it. I enjoy being around it.
Yeah, well, young Jed Fife, I did an episode from the first 2 rounds of Appin AFTN and recorded the last race of the day for each class. And you see with Jed's riding, especially on the TT, he hit his marks every time. Every time he was in the exact same spot. He had a good lead. You know, he just settled in, and he really calculated. I don't know if you spoke to Matt and Jed much, but they've been overseas in America racing and stuff and getting great results. So, he's awesome to watch. I really enjoyed watching him. Obviously, Hugo Holmes and Brody Page and that as well. They're all
Hugo.
They're talented kids, and you're right. They're getting the training on them there, and they're putting in the commitment and going overseas, so that by the time those kids are senior, they're going to be up there. You know, they'll definitely be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and they may not see their success straight away in Australian for, I'm going to call it the 4-lap field dash. You know, like that's how it feels. You're at the field. It's like once a year we get to do 4 laps in the middle of a field, and that determines the fastest rider in the country. You know, like
yeah.
So like they probably won't even have any need to try to chase those sort of races. They can go over and have their success in good time over there in America. You know, like I think I'd much rather I'd give up my Aussie titles for an AMA Green National win. You know, like it's I think it says a lot more, and it's like I remember showing people in America videos of racing back here in Australia, and they were laughing. There was Jake Johnson, and there was Mike Hacker and Kenny Coolbeth there one day, and I showed them a video of me racing back here in Australia, and they called it the 4-lap field championship.
It makes me a little bit sad that I hope that those kids will be able to have a series here, a flat track series here, which Dave is trying to achieve, and they can be champions at home, you know.
Mm.
And that would be good. And look, I'm sure it'll. Hopefully, it can end up being a little bit like the Speedway Series and be like the Australian Speedway Series is in summer versus dirt track being in winter, but it's like it's done like that so that they can race all over in Europe all year, and then they can come home, have a couple of months at home, and do a quick series here, and then go back to bloody Europe again. You know, and that something like that is, in my opinion, is probably more how we should run Australia. Like it's any kind of winter series is really good for like your people coming up and working their way up. But then it's like you should race. The good thing about this country is we can race all year round. and it's like, but then you can definitely divide it up into so that your guys that are really serious can go overseas, come back, and still run the Aussie titles.
Yeah.
But then they can. But then the guys that aren't quite at the stage of going overseas yet can race all year, and they can run. Like we almost need a winter and a summer series, I think. And it's like, I know there's not many people doing that to really justify it at the moment, but you look at from when me and Mick went over there, we were the only two. I know there's only two young blokes over there at the moment, but I feel like it's leading with young Max and Buddy and Tommy Drain over there. There's going to be a lot more young Aussie kids going. That looks like a good avenue. I would like to do that.
And
for me and Mick, it was another story. We didn't even know that a dirt track existed. The only American dirt track I'd ever seen was on any Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think if we get something happening like that, if the AFTN hangs in there, it gets made into an Australian championship, so that there's a number one plate at the end of his, even if it stays at 6 rounds, that's fine. I think you're going to find New Zealanders will be coming over to stay here for a period of time if that works for them. I think we'll get juniors from over there and from other places coming here and using it as a base to train for either the FIM or for America, or there's the Dutch flat track. There's also, let's not forget, the DTRA, the British series. I think, I think, and this is what I think a lot of people don't realise, actually, how huge we can make the sport if we all work together.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be all the more advantage of being in the southern hemisphere for us to run more of like a summer series, so that it gives, so like, if there's a chance that any of them guys want to come over, it's like it's winter time, it's snow and shit, and weather's cold. Well, shit, they can have a holiday and come to Australia in summertime and come race the motorbikes. Like, so, I think it makes more sense. Like, and Speedway have been doing it for years. I think it's a good opportunity to do that, and I would. Yeah, I'd like to see some of the New Zealand dirt trackers and some of that. Like, I've never been to New Zealand, and I don't understand why we haven't. Like, we could definitely make something happen. It's like, I'd like to get over there to see go to the Burt Monroe thing that they have, go do some of that stuff. They look like they have some pretty good events over there.
Yeah, well, 2024, Luke, they've got a flat track class this year at the Speedway Spectacular. Next year, 2024, which Tom and myself may be heading to. We haven't finalised it yet. And anyone else that's willing to join us, so that could be a goer.
Well, put it out there. If there's anybody out there over in New Zealand that's listening, if they find me a bike to ride, I'll come over and have a bloody, I'll have a run.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'd love to go over there because I'm a big fan of Burt Monroe. All my mates call me Burt because of everything I do off the bike.
Yeah, right. So revving them up at 3 o'clock in the morning's a normal thing then.
Yep. Well, I'm currently in the process of building a salt racer to take to Lake Gardner so that I can live up to my name of being Bert. So
nice.
I figure my mates keep calling me Bert, so I better bloody do it.
So do you make your cup of tea in your shed from the same pot that you're melting down your pistons in, or?
Well,
no, he just pisses on his lemon tree.
I do have a lemon tree, and I have pissed on it. It is.
Oh shit!
And it is in the front yard, so it does make things a bit awkward for the neighbours. I know, and I definitely have melted down pistons, but I don't cast my own pistons. Only because technology's probably changed a bit since then. But I keep all my old pistons and all my old engine cases, and it's like, and from time to time I melt them down and turn them into something useful. So, so I do a lot of the very similar things as Bert. And it's so I figured that I was at the time in my life that you know what, now's the time to do it. I could build a bike, and so I've started. I've been working on it for probably 12 months now, or close to, but it hasn't exactly progressed very far. But I've built a set. I've made my own triple clamps. I've been pedal beating this front guard for about 3 months now, and it's getting pretty close to finish. I've built my own swing arm, and I'm studying the rules, trying to stay inside of the rules. But at the same time, trying to push the rules as far as I can so that I can try to set this record. And I want to, I plan on turning up and having the inspector go, you can't have that. And I'll go, okay, I'll take it off. And it's like, you know, I plan on pushing the rules far enough that he'll be telling me that's not legal. You got to take that off. So,
what's the speed you have to beat?
At the moment, it's sitting at 150 mile an hour. When I first started this build, the speed was only 129 mile an hour, and then they've pumped it up since then. But that's all right. That just means I still feel confident enough to give it a fair crack anyway. So,
so what?
It's 241 kilometres an hour.
Yeah. What class is that?
So it's a 650. I'm going to be running. So it's a 650 cc. It's like I'll be running MF and MG. So 2 different classes. One's modified fuel, which means you're allowed to run any kind of fuel you want. And then there's modified gas, which is petrol. So I plan on, and at the moment, both records are sitting at about the same speed. They're roughly 150 mile an hour, which I think is at 240 kilometres an hour. Don't check that, but yeah. But that's with no fairing, no streamlining. And it's a modified frame. So the frame itself has to remain unmodified, but I'm allowed to modify the forks, the swing arm, and stuff like that. But within certain, I'm not allowed to go any longer than 10% of the original length of the bike, and there's all kinds of stuff.
So have you gone shorter? Or are you making that bike lower, or?
Oh, it's heaps lower. It's down about as low as I can get it, and it's longer, as long as I can go within the rules. And I no longer have chain drive. I've got a belt drive, and my handlebars are not conventional. They're a lot slimmer than usual. You'll be I don't know, it's hard to do over the phone, but it's like you'll be in a very tucked position with your handlebars under your face kind of thing. And even that, there's rules on how wide your handlebars have to be. So I have to make them, they're going to be the minimum width that are possible. So, but I think I can. I think I can put myself in a good position to be able to hopefully beat a record. But the only problem is here in Australia, it doesn't actually stand as a record. it'll be an Australian record, not a world record. But
Yeah.
but if my times are fast, I don't really care. You still take the bragging rights of that you're quicker. So.
And what do you do for a job?
I'm a boilermaker by trade, so I've always been welding stuff. But for the past 4 years, I've been bloody underground coal miner. So
Okay.
I'm just an operator these days. I go down and get dirty and dusty and deep dark holes.
Yeah, right. Because I was actually going to say, if you're good at managing your money reasonably well and you're earning not a bad quid, and you don't really feel like going back on the bike and racing is your thing. I actually have started a team for the AFTN, and I'm promoting this idea to people to actually pay a rider to race before they even win any money before getting on a podium or anything. I'm doing it for 2 guys. So I thought I'd float that idea with you. What do you reckon about that? Being a team manager.
For me to be the team manager?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be all right. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I feel like
you never bloody offered me that.
No.
I don't think he's realised that he's got to pay for everything yet.
Yeah. It's a stitch up, Luke. Run. Trust me, run.
No, I'm just putting it out. I'm just putting it out there because, obviously it costs me money, but it actually brings me a lot of joy. And I never got to do the things that you've done. I actually have raced the Burt Munro 3 times though, and it was an absolute thrill, and I love doing that. But yeah, giving these young riders the opportunity to race and be paid to race is actually giving me pretty much the equal same buzz. It's actually really awesome, and it really doesn't put you that much out of pocket. I think a lot of guys could do it, and it will help change our racing over here.
It would be good, I think. Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing I like about America, it's like you normally find that when somebody's done racing themselves, they and all of the bikes and things that they've acquired over the years, quite a few of them end up becoming tuners and like crew chiefs or whatever it might be, like along the line. So we don't. I feel like we miss out a bit on that side of things over here. Like those guys end up making it a lifelong career kind of thing, where we. I don't know. We miss out on it a bit. So I think, if you can start, if you can be in a position where you can bloody get people riding for you, I think it's bloody unreal. Like, it's like bloody the more you can help the sport, the better. I don't know that I'm in quite the position to start my own team, but it's like I think it's bloody great that you're doing that.
Well, we have to have a few chats off here because you'd be surprised how easy it is. And that's, look, it's even to the point that where you go, okay, I'll lend you my bike and give you $100 to ride it. It doesn't have to be huge amounts. A lot of people, I think, put it in their mind that he's paying $1,000 a weekend or something. And no, we're not quite there yet, but it's. I would like to be able to offer that to riders, eventually. But it's like anything in life. If you don't start it, it never happens,
Well, so in America, it's you pretty much always got, even for young kids, they like their parents are buying bikes and stuff to a certain point. But it's I found that by the time they're early teens, they're normally riding somebody else's bike. Like it might be somebody like yourself that's just an enthusiast, and they go, you know what, I love racing, but I don't really feel like racing right now. So I'll buy a bike and I'm going to give it to this young bloke, and he's going to ride the bike. And then, rather than what they do is they actually split prize money. Whoever owns the bike gets the half the prize money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so so it's actually like it offsets it a little bit, but it's like, some of those teams ask for money. Like some of the teams are paid, like so it's easy to pay for a ride. There's heaps of people that buy rides, but then there's, then if you're an exceptional rider, sometimes you get offered a ride where you get paid. But yeah, I've never seen any of them. But but yeah, like it's even when I rode for Skip, any bit of prize money I earned was split 50-50. But the funny thing was it all went straight back to the motorbike. It didn't matter if it was in my pocket or his. We spent every cent we had back onto the bike again. So it didn't make any difference whose pocket it went in. We put it to the same spot. So but that was the way it was over there. Like you could rock up at a track and say your bike blew up or something, and somebody'd say, "Here, jump on and ride my bike." It was sort of just unwritten. If you rode somebody else's bike, they get 50% of the prize money. It was like it was a different system. Like we don't have that over here anyway. Like there is, like if there is prize money, it's more the question.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear about buying a ride. I know that's a thing in road racing. Is that a thing in American flat track too, is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was plenty of people buying rides, and that was, I couldn't buy a ride. Even with, I say that, even with Skip, I still had to bring money to, I had to be able to, his sponsors on that he had on his own wasn't enough to run the team, and it was and I had to try to bring whatever I could to the team, So, we had our deal, and it was I paid for fuel and tyres, and I was to bring some money to the team, and it was I was still able to I had some of my own people that were helping me out, so they helped me out to make sure I could cover the costs of, for Skip. So, and all of those people, there was Digger Helm, he sponsored, I don't know how many people he sponsored, but Jared Mees he probably his biggest rider that he would sponsor, and it was Digger would just write a check for people and send it out, and how much he got was how much he liked you, so Digger helped out so many riders it wasn't funny, and then there was I had Charlie Scholl and some other guys that would that would just write checks, and it was they were. I've never seen any generosity like that out of anybody. That's big. That's big to just write a check for somebody to go, here you go, put this towards your bikes, or put this towards your racing. And we had no money. None of the money that I got went in my pocket. Every cent of it went to the bike, and it was and then. When I started riding for Skip, it was, as quick as I got it, I'd go, there you go, Skip, and we would just put it into the bike, and it was just, it's money. It's all, you need money to do good, but it's but we just poured everything we had into it, and if we had $1, it went on the bike, and Skip was just as poor as I was, really. He wasn't in any better vote than what I was. And at the end of the season, we would be okay, this Harley's blown up, that Harley's about to blow up, the Kawasaki just blew up. Oh shit! What are we going to do? And then we've got to drive 3,000 miles on the next track, and you're going, we haven't got parts, we haven't got any money to get to the track, and you're going, oh shit, what are we? And the good thing, like the people were so generous, and you'd call your sponsors and say, "Oh, I really hate to tell you this, but we can't make it to the last race of the year," and we'd always end up making it to the last race of the year. You know, they go, "Look, we don't want to see you miss out, and here you go." And it's like enough to get by, and like it was definitely. I feel like at least for our sponsors, they definitely seen where our money went. It wasn't. It definitely didn't go in our pocket. You know, it was.
And you were number 62 over there, is that right? What was your number here?
Yeah. So I was always 61 here before I left, and but then when I was you got to earn your national number over there. So when I earned my national number, 61 had already been taken. So I ended up taking 62. So it was what's available at the time. Sort of, you got your choice of what's available.
So when you start racing up again over here, you're going to be 62 or 61?
I don't know, because at the moment my bike says 62. And the stickers are still in good condition, so I'm happy to run 62. But I'm registered 61, and my Teletubby suit says 61, so I think I'll run at 61 and 62.
No, you got to run 62 because the AMA plates I have from you and signed from you are 62, so you better run 62.
Well, I can't because everybody else is registered 62.
Yeah, that's all right. There's actually four riders, I think, that run number 62, which is very surprising. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe everyone's trying to follow your footsteps or get some of your luck off the number.
There's heaps of people that had it well before me. So so it stems way back to the Terry Poole days. Terry Poole was number 62, and he has had that number, and then Mick Poole was then able to take 62, and then I'm not entirely sure what Taylor Poole was running, but Taylor Poole I think he ended up because he was over racing speedway. I don't know that it mattered too much to him, but then so Fiona Ryan's young bloke, which one is it? Is it Connor Ryan or?
Harrison.
I can't remember which.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either. I should know.
Yeah, so it's basically which Fiona Ryan is actually, I think, Mick Poole's sister.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've kept the 62, and that was that's theirs, you know. Like.
So where did the 61 come from? Where did you originally come up with that number?
I don't know. I had 16 when I was a little kid racing motocross, and then there was some. So it was actually Tom White, not Troy Herfoss. Troy Herfoss was always 17, but Tom White was registered as 16, and but Troy was riding Tom White's bikes, so Troy started riding 16, and I had no choice because he was registered. I had to change the number, so I went to 161, and I didn't like 3 digits. I think 3 digits look shit, so so then I ended up ripping the 1 off the front and turning the 16 into a 61.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a lot of bloody meaning to it. It's just what you ended up with. You can be like my dad and just go, I'll be number 11 because it's really easy to do out of duct tape.
And it's cheaper.
I like it.
Yeah. You got, to be perfectly honest, I think that you like 7, anything with 1s and 7s, they're easy to do out of duct tape. You know,
So I'm going to throw Tom under the bus here. Tom, we were coming up with segment ideas the other day. Did you actually get anything down or not?
Nope. not a damn thing. I think when I spoke to you last, I did 3, 2 or 3 13-hour days. So yeah, no, I did nothing. Not a damn thing.
Fair enough. So I hear, Luke, that you might not have a computer. Is that right? Or
no, I don't have a computer.
So
nothing.
there's a fairly good chance you've never Googled yourself then.
Oh, look, I've got a phone, mate. I've got access to the internet, but I'm just not very good at bloody using. I use the internet constantly, but I'm not that bloody. I'm all over.
You're not that tech savvy. You're trying to say.
Savvy. Nah. I'd rather hang out in my shed and weld some shit, machine some shit, and make something.
Yeah.
You know,
So yeah,
that's exactly what I want to hear.
We were going to do a little segment of about have you ever Googled yourself and put in a Google search. Well, I sort of already did that to get a little bit of background knowledge on you. And when I put in Luke Gough, the first search result that came up was worldathletics.org. And I'm assuming you're not 18 and a track champion.
I don't know, maybe. I look like I'm 18.
All right. And you got good
It's either that or you're not a project manager either.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, you skipped ahead.
I can change. If you change one thing and Google Luke Gough crash, the first thing that's going to come up is me breaking my pelvis at Peoria.
Right, give me 1 second.
Hold on. We haven't finished just the Luke Gough yet. So third off the rank was Luke Gough Music. So are you a musician on Facebook?
No. Well, I've seen that bloke come up, but...
Oh, have you? Yeah. And then fourth off the rank is actually you, for fuck's sake. Finally, there you are. Fourth down the rank.
Oh, not bad.
Not bad. I think that might be the same as your best result, isn't it? How weird's that?
Exactly right.
So that's your AFT, progressive AFT American flat track bio. That comes up fourth off the rank.
Yeah, right.
All right, put in the crash, Tom.
I just watched it then.
Yeah,
do you want to try and screen share it and put it up there so
you
everyone can see it on YouTube?
Video.
You can. I'm useless at it.
And
The
thing is, if you ever want to watch good videos of me on, like some of the stuff that I did in America, you've always got to type in somebody else's name to be able to find it. It's like if you type in Sammy Howlett wins heat race at Springfield Mile, you'll get to see a really good bit of footage of me. But you got to type in Sammy Howlett. I'm not even in it.
How are you going with the screen share?
Yeah,
you probably won't be able to see this, Luke, because you've rung in. But Tom's, we're sort of on Zoom. You can do a screen share, and we'll be able to play a video of your racing or your crash.
Hold on, it says host is disabled with participant screen sharing.
Hold on, I haven't.
You've disabled the screen sharing, so don't put random things up on the screen again. That's why.
No, I didn't do that at all. It's lying to you. Try that.
Yeah.
It should be good now. Yeah, Tom's a lot more efficient than I am, Luke. I've got a little bit of old man syndrome.
Old man syndrome.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, here it comes.
I don't have old man syndrome. I just don't. I have like don't care syndrome, maybe.
So where's the 61, Tom?
Oh yeah, there you go. Watch at the back. In the red.
I can pinpoint the exact moment when my pelvis...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a nasty one.
There's another one which is a front-on view, which is this one here. It's a close-up. It might be recorded again off a phone, but...
Yeah.
It's
the better one. The better of the...
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little bit chunky, but it's all right. Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, nasty.
I can't see it, but I know what you're just saying.
Yeah, you've probably relived it enough times in your mind. So
Yeah, I've seen that a few times, and that just
it
gnarly
looked
every time I
like
see
it
it.
looked like to me that you decided just to hop off and run next to your bike for a second or two.
Yeah.
I remember Luke saying it was I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, you said it was the very last movement at the end of the crash is when you felt your pelvis give way, is that right?
So if you watch it, the bike makes one more final sort of flop over and flips right as I come to a standstill. And it was the foot peg gets caught on my pants, like near my knees, and it was right then my foot was under my ass, and you can see sort of like it just twisted me, and it just happened in that last movement that the bike made, and the whole crash I can remember very clearly, and tumbling and going, like you're tucking, hoping that not to die, and then you. But then it was like, I'm okay, nothing's hurt yet. It's like I hadn't had any pain, nothing. I hadn't hit anything hard, everything was good. And then all of a sudden, at the last second, I just felt crack, and I went ah, and then I was stuck on the bike, and I couldn't get up. That video originally went longer, and so they edited it because. I think they felt guilty about putting it up there or something. It was because it showed where I was trying to stand up, and then eventually I got unhooked I unhooked the pants from the foot peg, and then even though I was in pain,
right there,
I was trying to get up. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, we're just watching.
The amazing thing with that is you actually totally separated from the bike, and then you joined up with it again, and that must be when you got hooked up with it and the injury. That's bizarre.
And it just twisted me, and it was so like even when I got to the hospital, my ass was swollen. Like it was bloody 6 inches wider than it was supposed to be. And but that particular day, I was number 5 out of the people that were in hospital. There was 5 of us that had left that track in an ambulance, and I was the least critical. Everybody else was in a worse way than me.
Yeah, wow.
And so it was actually. I think 2 days went by, and before they'd even really come to see me because everybody else was in a worse way, and then they come around and they went, "Yep, okay, well, it looks like you've broken your I think it was the tibia, the little bone in your leg." They're like, "Yep, you've broken your tibia," and it's like, I don't think that's all there is, because I'm like, "Look, my bum. There's something wrong with my bum." And I'm like, I can't move, It was just that little bone. I'm pretty sure I'd be a bit easier to move right now. They're like, you're right. And then they did, trying to get me to push the hands apart. And it's like, I can't even lift my leg. I'm like, there's something else wrong. And so they sent me in for a CT scan. And then they come back and they're like, "Yeah, you've got a broken pelvis. We're going to put a 6-inch tech screw in your ass to hold you together." Like,
I was going to say, have you still got that bolt going through the centre of you?
Yeah, we still got it. It's like a bugle screw.
Yeah, no, I remember you standing there one day pointing to your hip going, "Hey, if you feel that there, you can feel the tech head." And I'm like, "What the f-" And you can feel it. It literally you can feel the end of the what do you call it? The bugle screw. That was that tripped me the hell out. So yeah, he's part motorcycle racer, part Bunnings hardware.
Yeah, I was just trying to feel on my hand. I've got 2 plates and 8 bolts in my hand, and I used to be able to really feel those bolts. I can't actually feel them so much now, though. So maybe
mine's gone. I can't feel it anymore.
But yeah, he used to spin me out too. He used to sit there rubbing it for ages.
Yeah, I've just got some screws loose. That's all I've got.
Just loose screws, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Luke can vouch for that.
So, Luke, I'm guessing the airbag suits weren't around then.
I'd never even heard of such a thing at that point.
Yeah.
But yet again, they were probably around. I was just oblivious to it because I was oblivious to a lot of things. It's like I didn't discover Facebook until fairly recently, and then the only thing I use it for is Marketplace. So.
Yeah, like so many others, and even that's getting pretty dodgy now. So, but I think the race airbag suits didn't come in all that long ago. I don't think. I don't know exactly the date, but from my own memory, it's only been the last few years. And I wonder, even though that was your pelvic, I wonder if that would have helped at all.
I don't think it would have made any difference. It was so my steel shoe was actually under my bum, and then like the force of when it sort of it just twisted me, and one thing that the doctors one of the reasons why they didn't pick up on it straight away is because when you break that section of the pelvis, there's like the really big thick bone that's near your where your spine comes down, and then it goes out to like the elephant ears, which is like your hips, and then it goes down to like under your groin where there's like a couple of little like small bones that come together, and normally they break them small bits, and if you're going to break the bit that I broke, you break the small bits. And for me, the small bits were still intact, and the doctor couldn't understand why they were intact, but yet I'd broken the thickest bone in my body in the place I did, and as soon as it explained to me where I broke, I know exactly why it broke because I can remember it happening, and it's like my steel shoe was under the right hand side of my arse cheek, and it twisted my body, and it was enough just to crack it, but without displacing it, if you know what I mean. Like it didn't move enough that I was completely snapped everything. It just moved just enough just to snap that bone, and it was like, I remember very clearly of exactly when it broke, which is a horrible memory.
It's probably one you want to forget.
Yeah, definitely. We'll start wrapping it up because we've gone a couple of hours now, which is awesome. I feel like we could easily go a couple more.
Without a doubt, we haven't even got any part of the nitty gritty yet. We all love. Well, everyone that's passionate.
Can I butt in?
Yeah.
But I'm just going to throw in some random stories of my travelling. And,
cool. Deal. Here we go.
Because this is probably more fun than racing than any of the other stuff. So I was like driving around in the country by myself for endless amount of hours. Like I think when I bought my van, it had 150,000 miles on it. When I sold that van in 2017 after it had stayed at Skip Eakin's house for 5 years. Then I went back and then I did another bit of a travel around the country and then sold it at Willow Springs. And I think it had 450,000 miles on it when I sold it. So, so I'd done 300,000 miles in, but that was just in my van alone. I think I did more miles in other people's vans and rigs than I had in my own van. So, if you can work that out over a 4.5 year period, it's a lot of bloody miles.
Yeah, definitely did some travelling.
In the time that I was driving around by myself, and I was too poor to bloody wipe my own butt, I used to, so I had Keith Johnson bought me a 12-volt cooker, and I used to cook beef stew while I was driving down the road. It'd plug into the cigarette lighter, and so I'd be cooking my stew as I was driving. He also bought me a kettle so I could boil it, so I could make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, so all day I'd have slow cooked beef by the time I'd pull up. But then you drive for 3 days straight to get to a race, but I was too tired to get a motel, so I'd sleep in the van. But I'd sleep in the motel parking lot, and I'd eat my beef stew, and then in the morning I'd wake up, walk in the side door, go in, get the complimentary breakfast, which also included boiled eggs and bread and butter. So then I would make a complimentary package to take back to the van, so that way I could make sandwiches for later in the day. I remember one time I'd been racing for something like 5 or 6 days in a row, and I hadn't had a shower in something like about 7 days or something. I hadn't showered, and I really wanted to shower, or at least to try to clean off. So I slept in this motel parking lot, went in, got the free breakfast, and then I was eyeballing the pool. So I jumped in the pool, had a swim in the pool, which then looked like mud. Used some of they had some white towels there. I wiped off any excess mud with the towel, and ruined the towel. It was like chocolate. And threw that in the basket, took my 3 eggs and bread, and bug it off to the van and went off onto the road and went to the next track. And this was a weekly. This would happen weekly. I was constantly. I was doing this. I was waiting to be on the news for some sort of serial hotel.
Yeah, the continental breakfast thief in the van.
Serial towel wrecker.
The serial stealer.
And it was the only time that I could get to email anybody. I'd get to send an email to Mum and Dad, because back then the only thing I had, my phone didn't have any of that capabilities back then. But my sister had bought me an iPod for Christmas, and it was the only thing that could get Wi-Fi. So I'd pull up in the parking lot, and then I could get Wi-Fi, and then I could send an email back home and say, I'm alive, I'm still here.
And these towels are getting comfy every place I go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gold.
So, yeah, what was your most sort of ochre moment in a pit that you got picked up on, like that the Yanks sort of said, "What the,"
all of it.
There was a lot. Like I used to ramble. I have been rambling for a long time already, but there was a lot of things. But I used to I had a little oxy set, and I took it everywhere I went. And to make a bit of money between races, I'd be welding up people's steel shoes in between races. So that'd always turn it. I'd come in off the racetrack, and then somebody walk over with their shoe, and I'd put some hard facing on it, and then somebody would walk over and go, "Oh, my frame's broken," and then I'd weld that up, and then I was making $20, $50 here or there, wherever I could, and that had always turned heads. But one thing that does spring to mind was I never met the person. I was driving down the road, and I had a problem with my radio in the van, and the aerial it wasn't very tight, so it'd come unplugged every now and then. And I remember driving down the road, but I wouldn't stop, so I had the little prongs to pull the radio out of the dash. They were right there, and so the radio stopped working, so I got the prongs out, and while I'm driving, I'm steering with my knee, and I've pulled the radio out of the van, and then I've got my arm in the dash trying to find the cord to plug back into the radio, But then right at this time, I look over to see that I'm getting passed by somebody, and they're just pointing and laughing and talking to each other, going, and I can only imagine what they were saying. It was like, look at this guy, he's trying to steal his own radio, was it? I can't imagine what they were thinking. They were just looking at me going, what is he doing? Like, this guy stole from the car and pulled it apart before he even stopped driving it. Like. But I had heaps of moments, and you being a Kiwi, you're going to know all the Burt Munro stories, but I've pretty much lived Burt Munro's movie. Like, the movie of Burt Munro, I feel like is like my life.
So you had a trainee friend, and you
well,
got a fat guy with a beer going, those tyres are fine, don't worry, get them out on the track.
But it wasn't far off that. It was I remember driving. I drove through Vegas and down across. It wasn't the Hoover Dam; it was another dam, and it was
Boulder.
It was this big. I don't know. It was this big dam, and it was when I got there, I just thought, oh, this is a road, whatever. You just drive through, and so I'm getting ready to drive across this road, but my van is fully loaded with bloody bikes and shit, but they because they're worried about terrorists. They stop every vehicle and they inspect every vehicle to make sure you hadn't carrying a bomb, you know. And I pulled up and they tried to look through the back windows, which I'd spray painted so that you couldn't see through them. And straight away they pulled me over to the side, and then they go, "You've got to unload the van." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" I said, "It took me like 4 hours to load this thing." And they went, "What's in there?" And I said, "Everything." "What's not in there?" I said, "I live in this thing." And they're just like, they're not happy, you know. They're cranky, and then they said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm driving to Florida. I'm going to Daytona Bike Week." And they, "Why?" I said, "I race motorcycles. I was up in Washington State, and now I'm driving to Florida." It's like, "Why did you come this way? That's out of the way." I said, "Because I hadn't seen this part of the country. I thought it'd be fun." And they went, "Where are you from?" I said, "Australia." And they go, "Why are you here?" "To race motorcycles." And we just go around and around in this circle, and then he goes, "What's in there?" I said, "Motorcycles and gear and tools and it's like and food and stuff." And he's like, "Huh. So where are you going?" I said, "Florida." Okay. And then so then he goes, "Oh, Bike Week. Yeah, I like Bike Week. I went there once." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, finally we're starting to get somewhere." And then he goes, "That's really cool. Do your parents know you're here?" "Yes, I know you're here."
Because I thought you were 13 years old.
Yeah, well, they did. Yeah. And he goes, "Are you insane?" I'm like, "Maybe, but
probably.
I don't think so." Anyway, after talking to him for about an hour and a half, he's like, "That's awesome." But he forgot what he was doing. He asked me every detail about the bike and every detail about my story. We basically talked as long as we have tonight. And then he's like, "Good luck. I'll keep an eye out for you and send me on my way." You know, and there was quite a few times that happened. I remember driving home from Seattle one night, and I got a little bit carried away, and I read a red light, and straight away lights come on, and oh shit, I'm going to be in trouble here. And he pulls me up, and he walks up, and he's very serious. He's got his hand ready, like the Americans are very serious. They got their hand on their holster, just in case. And he says, "Can I get your driver's license and insurance?" And I said, "I've got my license." I handed that to him. I said, "It's an Australian license." is that any good to you? And he goes, looks at it. He just looks at it for a while, and he goes, I don't even know if this is real. I said, well, it is real. I realise this. And he's like, where are you from? And I said, Australia. Where? I said, Hilltop. And he's like, okay, well, at least that matches. And he's like, why were you driving so fast? I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I come in off the highway and I was going a bit too fast, butted him up. So I couldn't slow it down in time, and I went through a bit quick. And he's like, yeah, you did. And then, anyway, he goes, why are you here? I said, I race motorcycles. What kind of motorcycles? I race flat track. Oh, I watch flat track. And then yet again, he forgot why he was talking to me or why I was there. And then we talked for about an hour about racing flat track and what bike have you got in the back? Well, this is my SV650, and then I had to open the back doors and I had to show him the bike, and we stood on the side of the road at 9:30 at night talking motorbikes for an hour and a half. I've definitely had some fun times, and probably most of them have been away from the racetrack, travelling to and from tracks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely, without a doubt. No, that's gold.
But yeah, I did cop that one quite a bit. Boy, your parents know you here.
Yeah. Why has an 8-year-old got a driver's license that can drive a van? That's what we were more worried about.
Yeah, well, so at the end of the day, he said, you just slow down, take it easy, and look after yourself, and good luck with your racing.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, good.
So you've always been a bit of a baby face, have you, Luke?
Oh, yeah, to say the least. Yeah. I think I got my first chest hair when I was 28.
I think his son looks older than him, to be honest.
I missed a bit of that. I'm hoping that with the recording, it's not quite as laggy as some of the stuff I'm getting. But yeah, hopefully it's all good. We'll be able to edit it.
We definitely got to have you back on again, Luke, at another time to hear more stories, especially about the ballistic scramble and all that we did too.
No worries, mate.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Maybe we can tee that up at Tari if you're going to go down there, either to compete or watch or whatever. Tom's going to be there. I'll be there. Maybe we could do a live one.
So I'm completely out of the loop. If you send me some stuff so I know what's on, maybe I might.
No, I'll keep you updated, Luke. I'll send you the info over the weekend, and you better get your bike ready. He's going to come race, and if not, me and Darcy are going to drag you around the place and talk shit to you.
Fair enough. I can talk shit.
He's like, I'm good with that.
That's a lot easier than riding.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been fantastic having you on, Luke. Thanks so much. And we'll wrap this one up. But like Tom said, definitely have you on again. I can tell there's many, many, many stories to come. So look forward to hearing them. And thanks so much for letting everyone hear your story and what it's like, giving us a glimpse at what it's like to go and race in America and your thoughts about home, and that it's all insightful stuff. So cheers.
Not a problem. Well, hopefully we'll start getting around to a few races with the young bloke soon enough. So might start seeing me around the tracks again soon. So
excellent. Kelpie Flat Track Pod was brought to you by our partners, Euroka Fencing, Classic Wheel Spokes and Otway Hydroblasting, ShredDesign.co and Kelpie Flat Track Products. Remember to flog that like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube and keep it going sideways. Until next time, go Flat Tracker.
Go Flat Tracker. Go Flat Tracker. Go, go, go.